Time for the big one. England against France. This is the one we've been waiting for. We've finally got a team coming up against England that are very good themselves. If Southgate and England come through this, we start going, hold on a minute, it could actually be coming home. Got to get through this part first, though. This is not going to be easy.
This is not going to be easy. And also, it freaks me out just having this conversation, right? Because this is not my experience in the longer term as an England fan. The idea that you're just going toe-to-toe with France and that's going to be absolutely fine. You know, these are people who have actually won the World Cup in very recent history. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I think one of the things that we've spoken about a bit already is that it's going to be key is how Gareth Southgate manages his resources, because England's resources are plentiful. Let's not forget that. And let's not forget the quality we now have in every single position. Yeah, in every single position. Even given, you know, Reece James is not in this World Cup. Like, we have been blessed with a quantity of riches. So how is that going to be mustered? Well, I know you have views on it.
I think England have got every chance in this one, and I know I'm the same as you. It almost feels wrong coming out of your mouth, because these are the defending champions. They were a lot of people's favourites coming into this tournament, despite the fact that they've had a lot of injuries. But I compare this to England versus Brazil in 2002, where it was a star-studded Brazil side. But England went into that game with confidence. They actually took the lead in that game, and if it wasn't for that lucky Ronaldinho goal over David Seaman, we might be having a different conversation about football coming home. It might have come home in 2002. But I think England got every chance. And if you were to ask people that weren't English, I think some people would say that England were favourites in this one. Yeah. If you look at the results in the competition, in the group stage, we've had the best results in terms of scoring goals. We've only conceded, 2 goals in the competition? And that was against Iran at the back end of the game. We are, I say we, I'm going to say we. We are in a great position to really go and attack France and take this game and make a statement as well, because people overlook the win against Germany in the Euros that was a win against a major nation, but it was a Germany team that were in transition and England were expected to win that game at home. But against this France side, who are defending world champions, there's a bit more jeopardy and it feels like it's a big deal. But I have full faith that England can go and get this job done, because we've got weapons to trouble this France side. And
I'm sorry, that narrative stuff is such rubbish as well, because people talk about, it was the easiest possible route to the Euros final. It was the easiest possible route to the final, to the semis of the World Cup in 2018. I mean, it can't always be that. I get it. Some of the games were not, going up against Switzerland. People didn't look at their best, but in many ways, England made the other sides not look their best. And there's all this conversation about major nations. I mean, what's then subsequently happened with Germany, perhaps suggests that they do have a way to go. However, the key point is that, like France, unfortunately, England have big experience of consistently reaching the semis and the finals of the most major tournaments. So that counts for something. And not only that, but Southgate's managed to integrate this. I mean, of course you would integrate Jude Bellingham, but still, many coaches before him, many England coaches before him might not have done and talked about just experience and needing your experienced players for the big tournaments. So the fact that he's managed to do that and to integrate everybody and to stop Grealish popping off when he's, not ever starting, this is crucial.
It is crucial. And sorry to interrupt, you make such a good point in terms of people talking about easy games. They're like, this is a World Cup. All the games are so high leverage. I've seen Tunisia beat France. I know you can say it's a rotated France team. I've seen Cameroon, who are out, beat Brazil. Again, you can make excuse and say it's a rotated Brazil team. We saw South Korea beat Portugal. We've seen big teams lose in this tournament and England haven't. And if you look at Italia 1990, which everyone seems to act as if England almost won that tournament, the way people look back on it with nostalgia, England beat Belgium in the round of 16, beat Cameroon after extra time in the quarterfinals, and then lost to West Germany in the semi-finals. But everyone laws that as an incredible achievement. Those are not very good teams. So Gareth Southgate needs to be credited for the job he's done with England and navigating his way through major tournaments so efficiently. So I have full faith. I'm a backer of Gareth Southgate. I think he can do a job on France.
Hey, the bravery in this room is... I'm just sat here and just gone, this is mental. What's going on?
We're going to walk outside and there'll be a French person in the corridor. We'll just
it's carried away.
It's quite interesting because Gareth Southgate and Didier Deschamps don't have... The two managers that people will constantly talk about being tactically inflexible. They don't think they're the most entertaining managers. But like you said, Kate, he's managed to get Jude Bellingham into this side, who's doing very, very well, currently averaging 1.3 key passes per 90, which tells you he's an expansive player, which the constant criticism of Gareth Southgate is he plays boring football. He's now brought in arguably one of the best midfielders in the world on form right now in Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
And he's got him playing a style of football that he's sort of gone, Jude, you play your football in my system.
Yeah.
That has kind of worked. But this is where the conversation about system comes in. Is it time to change the system?
Is it time to... No, I don't think it's time to change the system. Is it time to change the system?
It is time to change the system.
Why do you think it's time to change the system?
I think this entire tournament, we just mentioned about...
I just want to change the system.
I just think it's the right thing to do. I think if he goes out, or if England go out, the talk will be all about we should have switched to a back five, we should have been more pragmatic. The complaint right now is that we're playing great football, so why would we switch? I think you have to base it on who you're playing against. I know we've just said that England have played some good teams, but USA are a decent side. I know that they actually troubled England a lot that game. Iran are a poor side. Wales are a poor side at the moment. Sorry to Welsh people. And now you take on France, who are a proper football team. They've got forwards that are going to give you problems more so than players who are playing in different leagues who don't actually have the quality levels of Giroud and Dembele and Mbappe. I think now's the time where you go, let's switch to a back five. Let's go. There's nothing wrong with going a little bit cautious, because in reality, and I've said this entire time Southgate's been in charge, the reason he plays a back five is because he doesn't fully trust his keeper and his centre-backs. And I don't either. It's not that I don't think they're good footballers, but I think you have John Stones, who I think is an outstanding footballer, but Harry Maguire, even in the games this tournament, has been shaky at times. And so there I go...
So you don't believe in the rave? You don't believe in Pickford?
It's not that I don't believe in it. I just think you've got to play what you're coming up against.
But something has to give, because you say, oh yeah, if we don't change the back five, and all the chatter will be like, why didn't we switch to the back five? I guarantee the chatter will be louder if you move to a back five and we go out, and people will be talking about why didn't we stick with back four. And if you look at it as well, in terms of England's strongest point or strongest part of the team, it's in midfield. And when you play a back five, you've got to rob Peter to pay Paul. You've got to take a midfielder out to stick another defender in. Our strength is not in the defence. Our strength is in midfield, where we've got Henderson, we've got Bellingham, we've got Rice. And if you look at the French midfield, I don't want to be disrespectful, but Tchouaméni's a great player. Rabiot's a good player, but our midfield is so much stronger than theirs. And I feel like that's where we will dominate them. And if you look at France as well, they're playing makeshift fullbacks. Jules Koundé is not a right back. Theo Hernandez is not really a proper left back, and we can really go and make it.
But then you look at their centre backs, and they've got Upamecano and Varane, and even Konate. Them three centre backs would all start for England. So then, would Maguire start for France? No, he wouldn't. Would Stones start for France? He'd have to give it a push.
Well, then we're doing the combined 11 thing, and I think if we do that, we win.
Yeah. The thing is, also talking about that midfield, Griezmann has been the best player this tournament.
We haven't even talked about
He's fully going under the radar as the best player in the tournament. When they're defending, he's practically like having a central midfielder in there. Then you throw in Rabiot's work down that left side. Then you throw in Tchouaméni, who I think is outstanding. I don't think the midfield's that much of a foregone conclusion. Then that front four or three becomes a real problem.
Yeah.
So what problem do you think it's solving, the back five?
You eradicate that front three as the main problem for England. I think you go up against that front three and go, we'll keep you as quiet as possible. Then our forwards can take on their back line. And then you've sort of like evened the battle out. I think you play a 4-4-2 and you go, it's our attack versus your attack. Their attack is much more deadly than England's attack.
Yeah, do you know what? I do agree with the fact that like maybe you slightly nullify France's attack, but in the position that Griezmann's been playing as like that free roaming centre midfielder, he will just pull off to the left hand side and be a faux wing and double up on England's right back. So I think no matter what happens,
if you play a back four, he does that anyway. Then your right back is against two attacking players.
But if you play back four, we've got centre midfielders that will have to make Griezmann think about going the other way.
Griezmann does that all the time anyway.
This is where I'm now starting to feel like this is a kind of existential crisis, guys.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Because you can't separate the two things out. It's the question. It's basically, as so often it comes down to, it's like, what do you prefer? And I think the two of us are here say we should concentrate on our midfield, and you're saying defend.
not defend.
No,
I think
all right.
be smart with your approach. I think when you come up against a team like France, who are so well drilled, so well practiced at finding, I know obviously we've spoken about Mbappe and how do you stop him. They know how to for him not to be stopped. And if it is a problem on the left, they'll chuck him through the middle. And then they'll bring on Kingsley Coman on that side and maybe bring Giroud off. They've got solutions to make sure Mbappe gets his time in the same way when Ronaldo and Messi were at their peak. If they weren't quite at it out wide or they weren't quite at it in a game, they'll throw on a trump card to unlock them. It's kind of just how it works. So I think that's an issue. But then let's look at England's forwards.
Yeah.
Phil Foden. I mean, England's forward. I don't know who's going to start, to be fair.
Yeah.
I
can't believe, by the way, I'm so offended on behalf of England that you're like, ooh, France is like way more impressive in terms of the forward line.
I mean, if Giroud against Kane in this tournament, Giroud scored more goals. So he's been.
Yeah, but Giroud didn't score at all last World Cup. But when we won,
yeah, but we'll talk about this World Cup.
I think actually on the point of Giroud, sorry, it's a kind of a side point, but he's another good example. You know, we're talking in the Argentina chat about people fitting in. Like Giroud is actually, astonishingly enough, a player who fits around the rest of his teammates in order to enable them to excel, even while contributing a whole load of goals. So yeah, I agree, his danger. Hey, I'm not writing these people off. I'm just saying.
I feel like you are.
I don't know, man. I think England have got the capability to go out there and actually play football and change perception, because for the longest time, England in major tournaments, it's all about just getting through. Even in 2006, it's about getting through. We beat Ecuador in the last 16, 2006, just got through to the quarterfinals. We've been playing impressive football. We dismantled Senegal. It took 30 minutes to start playing, but when we got the first goal, like in all the games of this tournament, when we got the first, we got the second, and then got the third. I think that England can go and impose their will on France, both physically and in terms of style of play. We've got the players to do it. That if we were to go with a back five, if I saw that team sheet, in my head it just rings inherently negative, and I think that it just invites pressure from France.
My front three is Rashford, Kane, Foden.
Oh, Rashford.
Soz.
Interesting.
Who's your front three? And then let's get into it.
Kane, Foden, Saka.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're playing Foden off the left, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So Foden comes up against Jules Koundé, who we touched on, isn't a right back. And on the opposite side, Theo Hernandez doesn't enjoy defending. He's been labelled the French Trent. I completely disagree. But that is what social media wants to label him, so I won't disagree with you.
And you are obsessed with Trent.
I enjoy Trent as a footballer.
I enjoy Trent as a footballer. He's pretty incredible, yeah.
those wide areas will be very interesting for England. We've
Yeah.
obviously spoken about Dembele against Luke Shaw, but when Foden comes up against Jules Koundé, that's an interesting battle, because Foden's been very good this tournament.
Hey, Foden is one of the best players in the tournament. You just said that like you didn't feel as though Foden was the way. I mean, I know not to obsess about him being so young, but like he is putting together performances that are just so mature. The way he's able to deal with whatever opposition players. I mean, one of the things I should have said about Mbappe when we were talking about how to stop him is just, foul him a bit. But the way that, for example, Foden is dealing with those sorts of little tactical fouls and getting himself out of trouble and just, again, reading the game. I was going to say like Messi, not exactly like Messi, but the guy can do everything. And I think he's been, again, another like servant for England.
I completely agree. I'll come out and I've criticised France's like fullbacks and Theo Hernandez and Jules Koundé, but what Koundé can do is impose his physical will. And I've seen Foden in some games, Man City, get a little bit discouraged when the tackle goes in, the shoulder goes in, and he knows he's in for a tough day, and he tries to take up different positions, and he's not doing what he does best. So that's where France can utilise their size in that back line. When you look at Koundé, you look at Varane, you look at Upamecano, and then you look at the pace and the physicality of Theo Hernandez as well. They're a formidable sight, especially if Saka and Foden don't get off to a great start in the game. I can imagine their will kind of being affected by that. So it's all about just making the most out of your best players and getting the best out of your most technical players. And if Phil Foden starts the game well and England get an early goal, there's no reason why we can't go and dismantle this France side. I'm saying it. There is no reason why we can't go and dismantle this France side.
What's your score prediction?
2-0 France.
No, I'm going to look like an idiot. There's no reason why we can't go dismantle this France side, but it's going to be a little bit closer than that. We beat them England beat France 2-1 in extra time.
Okay.
I'm just trying to deal with my own emotions. I'm actually trying to imagine the experience of watching the game and trying to figure out what scoreline would be the most comfortable for me.
It's going to be a tough one.
Because even like if we were 2-0 up at half time, I'd still be absolutely terrified. I don't know. I think we're going to lose. 3-1 England.
Okay. I'm so unsure. I do think
Exactly.
England should play a back five. I think even if England play a back four, I think the game's going to be very well contested. I think England will definitely score first. I'm absolutely convinced. I don't know why. I've just got a big feeling.
It's what happened. It's because it's what happened in the semi-final at Russia, and also
Oh
the
yeah,
final
maybe
at
that's why it's in my head that England will definitely score first.
It does, and because then that turns into a worry, right?
Yeah,
Too early.
I'm going to go 1-1, and I think England are going to win on pens.
You think we're going to win on pens? God, talk about us having a whole load of bravado in this room.
Yeah, apologies.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.